Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody who watches, this is that dude with the beard coming at you with a special edition of Around the Mat, brought to you by Bold Prediction Sports Media Podcast. Shout out to my co-host, Mr. KC. And I ain't gonna take up too much of your time today. We just got a quick Raw review midweek Wednesday before we get to Smackdown. And ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't watch Raw, I'm gonna give you some details, but you may want to run it back and try to catch it. It starts off here with CM Punk getting in the ring here, and the usual popping stance and all that extra stuff. He gets in there and he regales us with a tale about how months ago he had told he told Drew McIntyre, if you push him too far that he can turn into the devil himself, and he's vowed to turn into the devil and take Drew McIntyre to hell and Hell in a Cell, their next and third match in this rivalry here, which should be the culmination of all the fighting here. Which would be a good thing, because if anybody else is like me, we're tired of seeing CM Punk, and we're really tired of seeing him fight Drew McIntyre. I know they got to do this to put CM Punk back in position to be a hitter on the roster, but at the end of the day here, nobody really checking for CM Punk. This isn't 2008 no more. I mean, it's cool that he's here, a little pop here and there, but yeah, it's CM Punk. So, moving on here, first match of the night here, we had Pete Dunne, the Bruiserweight, versus Sheamus, the unjumpable Sheamus, I should say here. And in the words of Sheamus, they put on another banger. And this is another situation where you're almost tired of seeing this match. They've been having a long rivalry here since they broke up the Brawling Brutes. Pete Dunne's really been on Sheamus' head, and really maybe this is the culmination to give them a real set of matches to put this thing to bed, because Pete Dunne was victorious in their match on Monday here, pinning Sheamus 1, 2, 3 in the ring here. So it doesn't get bigger than that here. It's still a quality win. Any day you can go out and beat Sheamus is a quality win, quality dub here. So we'll see what happens if that builds a rivalry and goes forward here. But I think if I can speak for everybody else, we're ready to see Pete Dunne move on to better things here and be in better situations. Maybe even another NXT run if he's not in any title picture here. The next match we had on the card here, Guinness World Record holder Natalya Hart versus Zoe Stark here. And Zoe Stark is a woman we've talked about since the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. We said she can really go here. She's been really under the tutelage of Shayna Baszler for a while here. But we're really seeing her flourish on her own as a singles competitor here. Very strong, very athletic here. But it wasn't enough to overcome Natalya and all that experience. And she's been undefeated since her return here. And she picks up the win over Zoe Stark. Pinfall 1, 2, 3 in the ring. Is really setting her up maybe for a title run. Who knows? Maybe she gets one last run here before she really just continues her job as the gatekeeper of the women's division in the WWE. And leave a shout out in the comment or anything like that. What you think about Natalya and her future, and any of these other people that I've talked about briefly here while we've gone over this review. Next we have here was one of the best promos I've seen in a long time. Braun Breaker, the Intercontinental Champion, was talking to the crowd, telling them, he's a dog roof. Jey Uso comes out, and he's talking to Braun Breaker like a grown man talking to a little kid, bro. He really was on his head. He was telling him how he was winning championships when he was in diapers for 14 years. He was telling them how his title run is going to be shorter than his NFL career. He was on top of his head. Maybe he is going to be the first person in their family to beat somebody in the Steiner family, which doesn't really say much. I mean, there was a lot of WCW in that Steiner legacy, and then Scott Steiner, when he came back, he wasn't a big enough draw to even fight anybody like The Rock or anything who's even in that kind of bloodline situation. So, I mean, it's a cop out to me as far as the comment from Braun Breaker, but at the end of the day, his daddy was definitely nowhere to be found, because he was nothing but a tag competitor too. But at the end of the day, Jey Uso was on top of his head, hit him with the mic drop, had Braun Breaker looking crazy. He didn't know what to say, but shout out to Jey Uso, the Yeet Master. Leave that in the comment too. What you think about the Braun Breaker, Jey Uso upcoming Intercontinental title match? Leave who you think is going to be the winner in the comments. Let's start a poll. We can talk about it. Uh, Next match here that's on the card, we had the New Day versus the Judgment Day. And this was for the tag titles, and this does come after Xavier Woods was asking Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest not to come out and interfere with the match and things like that. Wanted to prove that him and Kofi are still the best tag team and they can still get the job done and win titles. During the match, and it was a great match, very up and down, back and forth, a classic WWE-esque match. And then, of course, we get the interference from the Judgment Day, which brings out the LWO and kind of interferes in that match, too. So, needless to say, it creates a whole bunch of chaos. And during all this chaos, Xavier Woods hits the limit break elbow on JD McNuggin. And, it should have been, you could have counted to 20. But all that interference with the LWO and the Judgment Day and all that, referee was taken out without a referee to count to 1, 2, 3. Finn Balor was able to come in, get some assist on him, coup de grace. Next thing you know, Judgment Day retains. And after the match, Xavier Woods was fuming. I mean, going off on the LWO, going off on Kofi, talking all the stuff, talking about all the shit you been doing, you ain't been running nothing by me and none of this other shit. He talking about he's sick of it, and I don't blame him. I'd be sick of it too at the end of the day. So I think we're witnessing the Judgment Day implode, but we'll see, man, because the whole thing around that situation kind of needed to blow up, because you try to bring in Odyssey Jones, he turned out to be a domestic violence advocate, so to speak. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't advocate men hitting women at all, unless it's dire straits, your life is on the line, and only to get out of the situation, not to harm and disable, just to get away from the situation. There's never really a good time to beat up women, and we don't support that here on this channel. We're not advocates of domestic violence. The only kind of violence we like is scripted. We'll put it that way with this WWE. So we'll see if that implodes the New Day, but still shout out to Xavier Woods standing 10 toes on business and letting Kofi know what it is, man, because he's tired of it and I'm tired of it too. Next match we had, and it was not even really a match, man. It was Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed, and it was supposed to be a match, but the thing got called off, and it was just so much destruction, dude. They were literally tearing that arena up, man. I'm talking running through walls, slamming through tables, chairs, whatever, you name it. It was just utter destruction. And nobody really won that thing. They destroyed each other, so to speak. But I've been loving to see Bronson Reed getting this kind of attention, especially what he had to go through to get it. I remember when I did the last show with our other host, Code Nameless, who'll be back eventually here. Big shout out to him. He's got some stuff going on down in Texas. But I had talked to him about how they needed to feed Braun Strowman to Bronson Reed, because who else could you do? And then they finally did it, and we're starting to see the comeuppance of that situation. So hopefully Bronson Reed can keep that momentum going, and he can really be the next big dominant, or the next dominant big man in wrestling, so to speak. I would love to see it, because, I like when these big guys get titles, like Mark Henry's title run, one of the best we've ever seen. So violent, so dominating. We need another situation like that, and who better than Bronson Reed to kind of fill that spot here. After that here, we had another promo with Gunther addressing the crowd and everything, and eventually, of course, his semi-rival, the only guy to beat him in the last few years, Sami Zayn comes out trying to get another title shot. Gunther keeps telling him he's trash and he's not worth it, seemingly reluctant to give that title shot to Sami, because I think Gunther thinks that Sami still got his number, and he might be right, because there's always some kryptonite for everybody. Eventually, somebody's going to take you out, so we'll see what happens with that. Ludwig Kaiser came out. They beat up Sami a little bit, let him know what time it is. Championship maneuvers. Big shout out to Gunther and Imperium on that end here. After that, we had Bianca Belair versus Io Sky in a real good chess match of a wrestling match. A lot of back and forth, a lot of move counters. Really great execution of wrestling here. Results in Io Sky picking up the win, a roll-up win on Bianca Belair after a little bit of confusion, but she picks up the roll-up win, 1, 2, 3, and maybe this starts a rivalry between Damage Control and Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, and they get those titles in the mix, and we'll see what happens with that here. But I think that's just another notch on Jade and Bianca's belt, because, there's not a better team to beat than Damage Control to show that you really control the women's division. So I'm happy to see it. We'll see what happens, and we'll go on from there. The main event here, we had the Judgment Day, Dom Mysterio versus Damian Priest, the former World Heavyweight Champion, leader-esque of the Judgment Day, and a great match. It was a slobber knocker here, hard-hitting. Both sides had some interfering moments on the outside. It didn't necessarily mess up the match. Rhea Ripley probably made a shirt worth about $400,000 by what she did, rubbing it and where she rubbed it and how she did it. She took a $10 shirt and made it worth thousands with one motion. Great match, though. At the end, Damian Priest does pick up the win over Dominic as expected. And then, as expected, Judgment Day gets in there. They starts jumping Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley and everything. And then Jey Uso comes out to help. And you can see that he's kind of scoping the ring. He's a little hesitant on jumping in, trying to pick his spot. And then all of a sudden, like a 22-mile-an-hour fastball. I know it sounds slow, but when you don't see it coming, I bet you it'll still hurt. Bang! Braun Breaker hits him with the spear that took his soul out the arena, Jack. It kind of reminds me of the one that he hit Ludwig Kaiser with. Same one that he hit Sheamus with all them weeks ago. Blew the boy ribs up. So he was really salty about that mic drop from earlier. So we'll see what happens with that rivalry, but it's shaping out to be great. That Intercontinental title picture is looking real good. And like I said, leave in the comments who you think you got in that particular situation, who you think is going to win that match. Me personally, I'm going to go Jey Uso. It's time for him to get a singles belt if they're going to do it. It's time now to pull the trigger because this bloodline thing is about to boil over so big that he's going to be needed. And we'll talk more about that in the Smackdown review because, by God, this thing is really going down. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Monday Night Raw review brought to you by Around the Mat. Thanks for everybody who clicked on this video and watched it. Make sure you like and subscribe and share. Make sure you comment. Let us know who your favorite wrestlers are on the program, who you're looking forward to seeing coming back, who you're looking forward to see getting up out of there. Talk to us. We appreciate you. Till next time, folks. Peace.